Hello and welcome. In this video demo, we will show you how HotLink DR Express enables disaster recovery and business continuity for the cost of basic backup. As I'm sure you agree, the price tag associated with protracted recovery can be huge. With tight deadlines and expensive personnel, the loss of even a few virtual machines can have a significant productivity impact. If the cost is high, then why not invest in traditional disaster recovery, you might ask? Whether on-premise or as a service provider? Well, simply because the cost of those solutions is even higher, and worse, implementation of those solutions is complex, ongoing testing is difficult, and maintenance is too labor-intensive to justify. So let me introduce you to HotLink DR Express, the only VMware business continuity solution for Amazon Web Services. HotLink DR Express is the only VMware vCenter business continuity plugin for Amazon to seamlessly extend your on-premise VMware environment and include comprehensive protection in AWS, spanning both backup, replication, disaster recovery, and business continuity. HotLink DR Express enables you to recover in minutes in AWS from an on-premise VMware failure. Best of all, Amazon workloads remain fully manageable by VMware vCenter, side by side with on-premise vSphere hosts and virtual machines. This simple yet elegant approach is made possible through HotLink's one-of-a-kind transformation technology, which I will tell you more about as we go forward. Let's get into how HotLink DR Express works. So how does it work? You deploy a HotLink server on-premise as well as a HotLink recovery manager on-premise and a synchronizer on-premise. Once deployed and plugin is registered, you then can start protecting virtual machines. And protecting virtual machines really means on an ongoing basis either seeding or replicating those virtual machines into an S3 bucket. And once you do that, it sits dormant within that S3 bucket, waiting for you to either test it or recover in a disaster case. Recovering or testing basically means we're going through the HotLink transformation in order to create those virtual machines in Amazon EC2. To do that, as you can see, we're using a HotLink agent and a HotLink restorer that does the transformation of those virtual machines into running instances in Amazon. At the end of that disaster, if you want to bring back virtual machines on premise because you've recovered and you have fixed the hardware that you had, you can then clone those virtual machines back on premise at any given point without an issue. And I should mention that you could also restore the virtual machines that reside in S3 and off-premise backup. You can also restore those back on premise if you need it as well. All of which relatively simply done, all from within vCenter, and using the tools you're already familiar with. The features we'll see in today's demo include obviously configuring an RPO per virtual machine. Then once you do that, replicating that virtual machine up to an S3 bucket, both the seed and ongoing deltas. I think more importantly, we have support for large database servers and large file servers so that not only kind of the average virtual machine can be protected, but more importantly, the complex, very important database servers and very important file servers can be replicated into Amazon. We'll see a DR performance dashboard, which is very important. We'll see some simple SDN, which basically means you can configure networking in advance, both for a production restore as well as for test restores. And we will do some of those restores, obviously, in the demo. And last but not least, we will show how all of it is done from within vCenter in a very integrated, automated, and intuitive fashion. I should mention that in order to deploy DR Express, you really don't need more than an hour. If things are really slow, you might need to. But it all can be done in a very short morning, very quickly, and very easily. Let's get started with the demo. So as you can see, we have VMware vCenter in front of us. We'll start by choosing the virtual machine we want to protect, configure virtual machine protection, and this is the checkbox that's required in order to check. Very simple, very easy. Once you mark that checkbox, the virtual machines start being protected. You need to choose which DR Express to use, and that's very important because we can scale out. You can have multiple DR Expresses, multiple synchronizers, if you wish to separate various applications so that they're synchronized separately onto Amazon. In essence, you're parallelizing your uplink into Amazon. Once you select, as you can see on the just below it, you'll see all the virtual hard disks that the virtual machine has. You can obviously choose which disks are included in this protection and which are not. Obviously, the boot disk is required, as you see marked here. Next, RPO, and the RPO is very important. Um, in this particular demo, I chose an RPO of 60 minutes, but you can go to an RPO of 30 minutes or 2 hours, depending on what is important to you and how you want to set up the protection of this particular virtual machine. Consolidation is important because we run a process to consolidate all the deltas once a day, and once consolidated, then you can choose to keep or retain, I should say, how many of those consolidations every night. So in this retention policy, I'll keep deltas for 1 full day, meaning I'll keep the detail of every delta for 1 full day, and I'll keep 1 extra consolidation point in Amazon. If you want to replace your backup, obviously you can choose to keep 7 or 30 of those consolidation points in Amazon. And once everything was configured, you can save it. That saves all the data, both for change management in VMware Task Management, as well as in S3, so that we have it for the time of restore. I'll do it now for a couple of other virtual machines. You can see that I can configure VM protection on a few other virtual machines. And once that's configured on a few virtual machines, we essentially let it do its job, which is replicating the changes on those VMs as they change, and protecting them in Amazon on an ongoing basis. This is the beauty of HotLink DR Express. Easy to maintain. It's within VMware vCenter, and done swiftly by you guys because you know how to use it already. Next, let's look at protection dashboard. Very simply, shows you all the virtual machines that you have protected. It shows you virtual machines which you chose not to protect, but they were protected before, so obviously you'll see them and their protection history in here as well. For each protection or each virtual machine, you will see its restore points. Important to mention, we allow you to keep up to 500 restore points. In this particular case, I let it seed and replicate for a couple of days. So I don't quite have 500 yet, but there are about 100 restore points here. You could obviously download all of this information into Excel, and if you needed to, and then use that to analyze further if you so need. Next, I will push on View Analytics, and we can see some of the performance indicators on our hybrid infrastructure. We can start in the top left. You can see you can see that you could filter by date. You could see a pie chart of all your virtual machines in Amazon. You can see on the top right, some of the tasks that I've been doing over the last couple of days, and how much storage or how many bytes we're moving around. On the bottom left, you can see bandwidth that was used in this hybrid infrastructure. Very important because it's obviously something you need to track as you utilize more and more platform, both on-premise and off-premise. And that's a very important key indicator here. And on the bottom right, total storage that moved between on-storage and on-premise and off-premise. Again, very easy, very trivial to read. All of this can easily be downloaded both in detail as I have here, and you can see that once I downloaded everything, I'll open it in Excel, and it's opening as we speak now. There you are, opening in Excel, and you can do very detailed diagnostics of your environment. You can see exactly which virtual machine did what, how long it took, how much data was moved. It's very easy to do whatever analysis you need to do on an ongoing basis, both in the graphs that we showed that I showed you earlier in the dashboard, as well as very detailed in Excel. Back to vCenter, which is very simple. we can see each and every virtual machine that's protected, but more importantly, we can see, we can configure networking for those virtual machines. And I mentioned HotLink Simple SDN earlier. And so you could see I can set up both the VPC, the subnet, the security group, the particular IP for each virtual machine, both for test as well as for production. And that's important because you'll do a lot of testing and you want to make sure that it doesn't conflict with your production environment. And then if you do have a disaster, you need to make sure that it's all pre-configured in advance and you're ready for restore. All of this information is saved in S3 so that you can lose everything on-premise and not lose the configuration that you did. As importantly, another small feature while we're here, you could set up a particular restore point to run at a particular time. In this particular case, I'll have it set up so that you can run the coming weekend. Not at 5:15 a.m., but rather at 5:30 or 5:45 p.m., which is when I'm going to come and make changes to my data center. Now that I save this, a restore point will take place next weekend. Next, how do I restore? It's as simple as opening Snapshot Manager for the particular VM that I want to restore. Once you open Snapshot Manager, as simple as choosing the restore point that you want to restore from and push the Go To button. Once the Go To button is pushed, everything really happens under the hood in an automated fashion. We have a restore that comes up. That restore starts retrieving all the virtual machine from that dormant state in S3. Once all the virtual disks are retrieved, they're automatically converted into Amazon Web Services volumes. You can see all of this happen from within vCenter, and you can see all of this happen in that same inventory tree. So you can see a restore run, and you'll see the virtual machine coming up in a couple of seconds. There it is. The virtual machine just came up. And once that's the case, we can start powering it on, and the virtual machine is exactly the one we expected to see. Next, I'll power that virtual machine. I'll power it on and open a console to it. That's as simple as it is. Powering a virtual machine on from within vCenter, you can type in the password, and that virtual machine is now ready to be used inside Amazon. So not only did we protect it up front, I let it soak a little bit, finish its seed, and replicate for a couple of days. I then restored it. You could see that whole process, all done from within vCenter. We could see the dashboard and its all of the attributes within the dashboard, all from within vCenter. Now that you've seen the product demo, let's wrap it up by going over the benefits. The first one is very cost effective. Remember I started by saying we're doing disaster recovery for the cost of backup? Well, here it is. You can protect a virtual machine for a cost of $400 per year using Amazon Web Services. It's all fully integrated into VMware vCenter. We used vCenter throughout the product demo, and you could see how we protected virtual machines. More importantly, or as importantly for cost, no additional recovery hardware was needed. We're only using Amazon, and it's a tremendous advantage. We use it and pay for it only when you have a disaster. Financially, again, a very big benefit. It's very intuitive to test and validate your DR resources. You don't need to schedule anything in advance. You could do it ad hoc whenever you have a moment to spare. Everything is automated. The recovery is automated. Obviously, restore of the environment is automated. The solution is robust and suitable for production workloads. Some of the VMs that I protected and restored in the demo were databases, file servers, and obviously any other tier in the stack and the various applications that you have. And I think, to wrap it all up, no Amazon experience was required. We simply use VM or vCenter and utilize the skills you already have in order to achieve disaster recovery. So before we finish, let me remind you to come and visit us at least at hotlink.com. There's a lot of product information there. There's a weekly webinar published on the main page. There are many white papers. And if you so wish, please contact us at sales@hotlink.com. You can ask any question, and we'll be more than happy to answer it. I hope you enjoyed this demo. Thank you, and see you soon.